I want to start by thanking and recognizing Idaho citizens for their profound efforts to slow the spread of coronavirus in our state. I also want to thank all who worked in the state and the stay-home order. I've witnessed Idahoans stepping up and making the hard decisions and personal sacrifices to entirely change how they work, live, and parent. They have done so out of care and concern for themselves, their families, friends, and communities. Thank you, Idaho, for doing the right thing. We'll continue to fight coronavirus together, and I appreciate your widespread support of your neighbors and communities. Idaho had its first confirmed case on Friday, March 13th, just over 1 month ago. Today, we have 1,464 lab confirmed cases, 39 deaths, and community spread of virus in nearly every corner of the state. We are sorry for those who were affected, as well as their families and loved ones. There is no vaccine today. There is no therapeutic to relieve symptoms. And we are far from achieving herd immunity to this virus. But the statewide order is working. Your efforts are working. We can only imagine how many more cases and deaths we would have today if we hadn't sacrificed together to slow the spread. We're truly seeing a flattening of the curve. Today, I'm announcing that after intensive consultation and deliberation, I've decided to extend the statewide stay-home order to April 30th, with some exceptions to begin to allow our economy to reopen safely. This action is consistent with the guidance President Trump and CDC have given the country. Idahoans should continue to practice all the behaviors that they've been doing since March 25th. However, my amended order, effective today, allows some previously designated non-essential facilities and services to reopen and offer curbside delivery services between now and April 3rd. My amended order requires out-of-state travelers to self-quarantine for 14 days after entering our state. Excluded from this are people performing essential services or those who live in one state and work or gain essential services in another state. Many previously identified non-essential businesses can also prepare to reopen after April 30th by developing operational plans over the next 2 weeks to do the following things. Maintain social distancing for staff and patrons. Provide adequate sanitation and protective covering for employees and patrons. Limit the number of people in the business at a time. Direct the flow of people in the operation and offer curbside and pickup delivery. To be clear, this excludes some non-essential businesses where people simply cannot safely social distance, such as nightclubs, bars and restaurants for dine-in, indoor gyms and recreational facilities, hair and nail salons, and public events and gatherings. Believe me, nobody wants to get Idaho back to work more than me. Our goal is for most businesses to open after the end of the month, but with the understanding that it may not be possible if there's an upward trend in severe COVID-19 cases in Idaho between now and then. We will evaluate the order, again, based on the facts and the circumstances at the end of the month. My amended order and other updated informational materials will be available at coronavirus.idaho.gov after this press conference. Here's what it comes down to. Idaho will be better positioned for strong economic comeback because we're making difficult changes in how we live and work in the short term. Science tells us if we don't time these measures right, then we can worsen the outcome for citizens' health and the economy weeks and months down the road. We know that continued mitigation efforts like the ones we're practicing now and will continue to practice are effective in slowing the spread of coronavirus, reducing contact rates, reducing and delaying the peak of the outbreak, saving lives and flattening the curve. If we fail in these mitigation measures, we can expect a second wave of infections to occur. Preventive measures will be necessary until a vaccine or effective therapeutics become available. I am continuing to push for expanded access to testing. Testing requires trained health professionals, adequate testing equipment, and lab capacity to produce utmost confidence in the credibility of the testing. We are working with our healthcare providers to make any and all efforts to achieve widely available testing. A robust economic recovery will require citizen and consumer confidence. Consumers want to know that businesses will adhere to practices to assure their health and safety. We may have to go through phases of loosening and tightening of these measures until we have a vaccine, therapeutics, effective evidence of immunity buildup, and until we can expand access to testing. Everyone must ramp up their efforts and do two things: social distancing and wearing face masks in coverings in public places. To get to where we want to be, even our everyday actions, shopping and working, requires increased social distancing and face covering. It is my job to ensure the health and safety of our citizens. That is what I'm doing by putting in place these measures. I also want Idahoans to know that I deeply care about economic prosperity, getting back to work and our children getting back to school. More than anything, I want Idaho to know how much confidence I have in our people to be part of the solution to this global pandemic. It's no surprise to me that we had more economic prosperity in Idaho than any place in the country before all this started. What we're doing now is difficult, but I have no doubt Idaho will be one of the leaders in recovering from coronavirus. Again, thank you, the people of Idaho, for doing an incredible job protecting your neighbors and yourselves by following the statewide stay-home order. We are truly a state made up of people who care much about each other. With that, I'll take your questions.